we actually spoke to consumers. And what we found is that the majority, at least 50%, felt very confident about their abilities to spot a scam. 90% of them would actually miss all the signs of a scam and fall a victim. That's a pretty high number.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Visa Spotlights, our podcast series where we look at some of the latest trends and developments within the payments landscape across the CEMEA region. Today we're going to revisit the absolute critical topic of payment security and look at the evolving landscape when it comes to fraud prevention. We'll dive into some of the latest findings in Visa's biannual threat report and understand the latest in terms of consumer understanding and awareness across the region. We'll also look at what it takes for Visa to be able to protect more than 4.5 billion cards and credentials around the world and safeguard more than $15 trillion in payment transactions each year. Joining me today is Charles Lobo, Senior Vice President of Risk for Visa across the Central and Eastern Europe, Middle East and Africa region. Charles, thank you for joining us again today.
Thank you, Dan. I'm delighted to be here again.
So before we go into some of those topics that I mentioned, perhaps you could just give a bit of a sense for the daily reality in terms of securing the payments ecosystem across the region. Like, what does it take and what are you focused on?
That's a great way to start this conversation, Dan. And I'd like to put some dimension around this for you. So we as Visa operate in 200 countries. Our network brings together and connects 14,500 financial institutions and partners. 130 million merchants connect to us. And that's why the number that you said, $15 trillion of value, is what's moving across our network. The extent of our network is phenomenal. In terms of route miles, it's 24 million route miles of network. Now, as you can imagine, with that volume of money, the number of people connecting to our network and the breadth and extent of the network, it presents opportunities for bad actors to want to attack us. Our applications and our APIs get attacked by in the range of about 90 million times every month. 11 million phishing email attacks is what we fend off. You see, all of this is what keeps us always switched on. So our cybersecurity is at the cutting edge, because what we really need to do in order to secure this very valuable network is we've got to have all the tools, all the capabilities, all our investments directed at securing this environment. Now, we as Visa, we've worked very hard over the years. We've built up tremendous capabilities, we've made significant investments in the space, and those investments are paying off. Yeah? Our cybersecurity posture is one of the top in the world. And it's been a journey. Yeah? So we've been consistently working at it, and we've got to a place where we feel really confident, because at the heart of everything that we do, at the heart of this network, it's trust.
Absolutely. And I think you and your team are working behind the scenes, both in our region and around the world, to protect the network, as you just said, and fend off those many millions of potential risks and attacks which may be happening.
Yeah.
What's your assessment of the current levels of consumer understanding and awareness of fraud and the work that's being done there?
Look, there's a lot of data around there. So there are data points that say that in 2023, scams were to the tune of $1 trillion globally. I think we prefer to look at genuine consumer insights when we respond to questions such as this. And so I'm going to rely on our 2023 Stay Secure campaign, where we conducted consumer research with about 6,000 individuals across the CEMEA region. We went into 17 markets and we actually spoke to consumers. And what we found is that the majority, at least 50%, felt very confident about their abilities to spot a scam. 90% of them would actually miss all the signs of a scam and fall a victim. That's a pretty high number. So when we think about consumer awareness, there's never enough that needs to get done, right? And we've got to constantly keep at it. We've got to keep working on it. And it's have to be a multifaceted approach. Because the reality is the sophistication at which scams are getting orchestrated is just growing with time. So there's more technology being put to bad use. There's more tactics such as deep fakes and voice cloning and the such like which are coming to bear. And that's eroding consumer confidence. And confidence gets eroded. It's like two sides of the coin. So poor awareness leads to issues and incidents which destroys confidence. So we are working very hard on all of these dimensions. How do we boost consumer awareness through our campaigns? How do we understand better where the gaps are and how we can fill those gaps?
Great. So we obviously get some fantastic insights through our annual Stay Secure study, which, as you mentioned, gets the opinion and thoughts of consumers across the CEMEA region. But we also look at the evolving threat landscape through our biannual threat report, which we just recently released and looks at the state of threats from January to June 2024. How is the threat landscape evolving? What are some of the key findings that we saw in this latest report?
Yeah, so look, the threats, and I think the evolutionary part of the threats is the fact that while some of the threats are the same, what's evolving is technology. So what technology is doing is it's allowing those threats to be scaled much more rapidly, more wider and faster. So here's some of the trends from the biannual threat report. The first one is around the fact that technology is under attack. So the infrastructure of financial institutions, specifically around authorization. So vulnerabilities in authorization logics are being identified and tested through technical means and then exploited at scale by using machines. The second one is clearly artificial intelligence, AI. Everyone's talking about it. But the crooks have got their hands on AI and they're able to use AI again to scale. Scale in what form? Scale by using it for deep faking of individuals, deep faking of identities, deep faking of voices, cloning, etc., etc. And that can be done at low cost and at higher frequency. Social engineering, it's been around for a while, but now from small attacks which are crafted or individual driven, it can be done at scale. And what we're seeing is through social engineering, the bad guys are finding ways of exploiting different parts of the payments value chain, right? So initially it used to be targeted at transactions. Now it's targeted at taking over the credentials, right? So we are building more and more security around that. So social engineering is the other dimension. The third dimension is around just attacks at scale. You know, high velocity transaction pumping is being attempted. So all of these various aspects are what we are seeing is really the levers of technology to enhance the nature of attacks across the ecosystem.
So clearly there's more threats out there than ever, as the report has just shown. Now, you mentioned AI and the fact that everyone's talking about AI, so we should probably talk about AI as well. Visa's been investing in AI for around 30 years now, in different forms. What role do you think AI can play in securing payments moving forward?
Yeah. You know, again, everybody's talking about it, but we have a long history with AI. Our history is 30 years old. So in 1993, when we started this journey, we were in the era of simple AI. So it was about, using data and understanding how the data was, showing us patterns and things like that. And then by 2023, we moved into the era of predictive AI. So it's more of how can we use models to apply models to data at scale to predict what outcomes will happen. Now we are in the era of generative AI. So we've been through these three eras over the 30-year period. And generative AI is what is guiding everything that we do. Why is that the case? We process 200 billion transactions on our network a year. Each transaction has 500 data elements in it. So Dan, just wrap your head around the sheer quantum of data that we have to process and deal with. Now, finding a fraudulent trend is like picking a needle in the most gigantic haystack you can imagine. How do you do that? Every day, we have to process or wade through 20 billion events. These are, security events that are happening across the globe. Again, sheer size of data. It's humanly impossible. So that's where AI and generative AI are playing a huge role in our strategies at countering bad actors, countering the attacks on our network that I mentioned. So AI and machine learning are put to work in our models, our data models. They are working hard at our network level monitoring capabilities. Generative AI is helping us improve the efficiencies of our teams in combing through all those event data and that event history and finding that proverbial needle in the haystack.
Wow. So clearly there's been a journey underway, and I think we've all seen that AI has been transformative over the last couple of years.
Yes.
But some of the predictions for moving forward are that AI is going to absolutely transform
Yes.
all aspects of, or many aspects of life, which will obviously include both payment security and the threat of bad actors as well.
Yeah.
What are some of the investments that we're making to continue that 30-year legacy that you spoke about earlier?
Look, we've invested heavily already. Yeah? So over the last 10 years, specifically in AI, our investments are to the tune of about $3 billion. I'll give you a picture of what those investments look like. So there is our network level monitoring that we do, and I mentioned the billions and billions of transactions that we look at. So we invested in machine learning and artificial intelligence models to look at that data and to spot out a pattern behavior. So our solutions such as Visa Account Attack Intelligence, they are geared towards spotting attacks, fraudulent attacks on our network at a network scale. Then if you look at the solutions that we've built to deliver to our clients so that our clients can protect their portfolios, such as VRM and our authentication solution, VCAS, all of those have AI embedded in them. So there's AI and there's models, sophisticated models embedded in those solutions, and we're constantly updating them. So they're not static models. They're models that learn and evolve and improve with time. And then we've got what we use on the generative AI side, which is how are we embedding security into our development, into our coding, into how we build product. And here's the concept of security by design. So everything that we are developing and designing, the solutions that we're designing, the technical build out that we are doing has security embedded in it from the get-go. So here, that's how we are investing, and that's how we are looking at future-proofing what we are building for our network so that it's built with the best and cutting-edge security inherent in it, in the design itself.
Great. So you spoke earlier on the growing level of threat out there.
Yeah.
The fact that consumer understanding and awareness still needs to increase, and some of the emerging threats that are being driven by new technology. Against all of this sort of landscape and all of this background, what are some of the best practices which you think companies can put in place to help better defend and be more proactive and on the front foot against some of those threats that we discussed?
Yeah, and look, this is a space that's constantly evolving, Dan. So we're always trying to perfect how we operate in this space. But here are a couple of things to bear in mind. One is cybersecurity and protection and security is a multifaceted approach. It's not a one-size-fits-all. We operate on the principle of pessimistic paranoid, right? So it underpins the zero trust architecture. So what is zero trust architecture? It's don't trust, ask. Yeah. So ask questions and constantly examine what's out there. So zero trust is a very key concept to how we approach this. Security is is multifaceted and multi-layered. So you've got to have the different layers of prevention all working together in consonance. So just very practically, while we do network level monitoring at Visa, we also provide solutions for our clients to do monitoring at their level. And clients in turn tool and tailor their products and solutions for the end user to do their bit in keeping secure. So you see, it's a multi-layered approach and everybody needs to be working hard at it. So we've talked about consumer awareness. So it's consumer awareness, but also there's awareness at the financial institution level. There's awareness at Visa level. So in Visa, we've built out our cybersecurity certification program. Why is that? Because we need to keep our people at the cutting edge of their awareness and knowledge of these concepts. So this is a demonstration of this multi-layered approach. The second bit is around collaboration, because there is no amount of collaboration that's enough in this domain. Some of the examples of collaboration that we've been working on. Earlier this year, we've put in place our first ever cybersecurity council. It's a council for chief information security officers, where we bring together the best minds in the industry and we sit down with them and we discuss about the trends and about what's top of mind for people and what is the new solutions out there and can we build better partnerships to secure the environment. So this is a collaborative sort of venture that we've put together and we've launched. We're doing a lot more apart from this in the space. So for example, we have this wonderful partnership with the Dubai police. This is an example of private and public partnership where the police was interested in setting up sort of cyber fusion center where you can bring together financial institutions and share intelligence. So we've been a very integral part of that. In Egypt earlier this year, we were a sort of a partner in building out and conducting a cyber awareness, a fraud awareness forum. Again, how we are partnering with regulators. So we've got all these various forms and shapes of partnership, but really the underlying theme is how can you be very intentful around collaboration. Yeah, and really putting collaboration to work, bringing down the walls, breaking down the silos of how we share knowledge and information in the space. And the third dimension is around, regulation of artificial intelligence. I think that's a domain where we have a lot of thoughts in what it should be like. We internally within our organization, we encourage the use of AI, but it's safe use of AI. And I think that's a part of, how we build out this technology and how we put this technology to use that's going to be super critical for us as we go forward.
Excellent. So as you said, collaboration is clearly absolutely key here,
Yeah.
both within the private sector, but also across public sector and private sector, as the example you gave in Egypt with the central bank and the work that we've done with them.
Yes.
I'm going to take your, was it pessimistic paranoia?
Yes.
And look to the future as well. And just to sort of close out today, I'd love your thoughts in terms of how you see of the fraud landscape evolving moving forward, and what's coming down the line, both in terms of the attacks, but also the prevention efforts.
I think pessimistic paranoia aside, I'm quite optimistic about the future. And here's why, right? Individually, for each one of us in our day-to-day lives, our identity is going to be supreme, right? And because we are in the era of digital, the digital form of our identity is going to manifest itself in everything that we do, whether it's for payments or whether it's for transport or the such like. Now, authentication of that digital identity is going to become more and more advanced and important, and it's got to be more secure, right? So that's one concept that we've got to embrace, and we have to be sure of how our digital identity is getting used, where it's being stored, and how it's being authenticated. The second bit is around payment data and our constant endeavor to secure payment data and devalue it for the bad guys. And I think the domain of tokenization has grown tremendously. Today, there are more tokens than there are card credentials out there. But this is going to increase at a much more rapid pace. And that's good news. That's really good news because token adoption has never been as high as it is. So these are the two trends for me which are vitally important. Underpinning all of this is just the progress of technology and how we will put AI to use to defend our ecosystem.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much again today, Charles. Obviously, there's a lot that's going to continue changing, but I feel very reassured that you and your team are continuing to secure the ecosystem and secure payments for us all.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. It's been great.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed the discussion. If you'd like to find out more on any of the topics that we covered, such as Visa's Stay Secure survey or the biannual threat report, then please just click on the link below. Look forward to seeing you next time.